Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason. I'm speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. And today I am finishing up my list of top 20 movies of the 2010s. I'm going through movies number 5 through number 1, my 5 favorite movies of the last decade. So I'm going to start with a movie that was the last movie in one of the best franchises of the last decade, and it is called Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, because they made a Part 1 and Part 2, the last book, to try to fit everything in. I'm a big fan of the Harry Potter series, obviously, as I got this movie at number 5. I first discovered the movies actually first, and then went back and started reading the books after I watched a couple of the movies. And big fan of the book series. I've read all the books a couple times. In fact, I'd show here, I got the Deathly Hallows book right here. I just read this recently. Still a great book. And I love the story is great, characters are great. It's just wonderful. My favorite fictional writing of all time, in my opinion. I've read it several times and still love it. And I think overall the movies, the 8 movies, I got all 8 on Blu-ray. And I think overall they did a pretty good job adapting the book to the movie. It's always hard adapting a book to a movie because there's so much information in a book that you can't have in the movie, because a movie you have to fit it all in 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours on this franchise. And so you have to edit things out, you have to cut things out. And in fact, the funny thing about this movie is when I went and saw it in theater, I was so of course, excited. The last book or last movie in the series, and I love the book so much. And I had all these expectations. I had all these ideas of what was going to happen. I had it pictured in my mind. And the movie didn't go quite the way I was expecting, quite the way I pictured it, quite the way the book did it. It does a little different. And it's a problem when you're a fan of the book. I think there's always something that happens when you watch a movie and you're a big fan of that book, is sometimes it can be disappointing just because it doesn't go the way the book does. It's hard to remember it's a movie, can't go quite like the book. And so I was a little disappointed when I saw this movie in the movie theater. I just thought it didn't quite meet my expectations. It was okay, but not great like I was hoping. So going through this, making this list, I had no expectations to have this movie this high up on my list. Number 5, I mean, one of my 5 favorite movies of that decade. I never would have thought that I would have this movie here. But recently I watched through all 8 movies on Blu-ray. Spent about 2 weeks maybe. Went through from the beginning, Sorcerer's Stone, all the way to the Deathly Hallows Part 2. And I think maybe that helped because I got to watch the movie all the way, got to see the characters grow, got to be emotionally attached to the characters. And so once I got to this movie, I really found myself emotionally involved in the movie more than I was the first time I saw it. Because I love these characters so much, and I love the, good triumphing over evil. Lord Voldemort, the bad guy, is one of the most evil characters ever on film that I've seen. Great character. I mean, as far as character you hate and you want to be defeated. And so I think something about, I don't know, me just getting so emotionally involved in the movie and what was going on and having it be this last great battle. And that's why I love, a lot of times the last movie in a franchise is usually my favorite, just because I love that last, scene of the bad guy getting defeated and the good guys win, and there can be some kind of peace. There's always a feeling of, oh, now everybody can go back to living normal lives, living peaceful lives, and they don't have to no longer be fearful of the terror that was, throughout the series. So I really love that part of the movie. And so watching it, yeah, I just totally loved that last battle scene. I said, and what happened to Harry Potter, not to spoil, but, the things that happened to Harry Potter, and that, such wonderful writing and such, the way they did it was so great. And I love the Snape character. I think the way they handled that character was marvelous. I think Alan Rickman should have got nominated for Best Supporting Actor. His performance was so great, and he has one of the most emotional scenes in the whole series that was played so well. It's such a great scene that I have to watch it. In fact, this last time I watched it twice because I just love the scene so much. So I say that helped. I think what helped me love this movie so much now, watching it over again, is that I was able to separate my feelings of the book from the movie, because it's been it was a while since I've read the book. It's been a while since I watched the movie. So somehow by watching it now, I separated my feelings over what I expected and just watched the movie for what it was, and enjoyed it for what it was. And when I did, I just came out going, man, I can't say I do love this movie. Anyway, so that's why I got Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows Part 2 at number 5 on my list. Number 4 on my list, I should say. See, Deathly Hallows Part 2 came out in 2011. I forgot I want to say the date there. My number 4 movie is one of the most original movies I've ever seen in my life. Definitely, yeah, for a long time I've never seen something like this. It's called Inception, directed by what's his name? Christopher Nolan. Uh, Kind of one of the big directors today. Just came out with the movie Tenet. I haven't seen yet. A lot of people love Christopher Nolan. I'm a little hot and cold on him. Some movies I really like, some movies I don't like of his. But one thing to say about him is he's really good at coming up with these original ideas that very creative, and I like that. In a day when, or in a culture, I don't know, movie culture where you don't get a lot of original stories, everything's usually adapted from something or sequels or remakes. It's always great when you get something totally new that blows your mind. I mean, I would say even there's some movies that will come out and I'll say, some of these ideas I've seen in other movies, and so sometimes I don't like it because I'm like, well, this just seems like the same movie, just a little different. Like just example, like the Pixar movie Brave reminded me so much of the Disney animated movie Brother Bear. Had kind of some similar ideas. So then when you watch it, you go, oh, this has been done before, and the value of the movie goes down for me when I get to that point. Inception, I've never seen these ideas before in another movie, really. I mean, it deals with going into people's dreams, which is such an interesting idea, and putting in information in their mind through the dream, or getting information from them through their dreams. Such a great idea. I think there have been some movies maybe dealing with dreams, but I don't think it's ever been like to this level, where it's almost like a heist movie where you're going into someone's mind, inside their dream somehow, and be able to extract information. A very interesting idea. And then you got ideas like you can fall asleep while you're in a dream. So it's a dream within a dream. Obviously impossible, crazy idea, but such an amazing idea and creative idea. And I love that. I love how they're in dreams. Of course, there's no reality, so you can change what's going on in the dream. What you have in your hand, what you're doing with buildings, and you can change the atmosphere through with your mind because you're in a dream. Yeah, it's all. I love the whole idea, and it's a movie that every time I watch it, I like it even more and more because first time you watch it, it's a little confusing, not sure what's going on. More and more you watch it, the more you kind of get out of it. I like that about it. I think Leonardo DiCaprio, of course, great cast. DiCaprio, Ellen Page, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Michael Caine has a small part. What's his name? Tom Hardy. It was the first movie I saw Tom Hardy in, and I didn't know he was going to be a kind of a big star after that. And he was really good in the movie. But DiCaprio, it was on such a big run at this time. I mean, when you think of The Departed and Blood Diamond and The Wolf of Wall Street, Django Unchained, and then The Revenant, he finally won an Oscar. This is, to me, one of my favorite performances of DiCaprio, and during this time period. And yet, of course, he didn't get an Oscar nomination, and people don't talk about this performance as much as his other ones, but I think it's great. I love his performance, and there's some good emotional scenes in there, along with some good action scenes. And so, yeah, it's a very creative movie, great ideas, anyways, great story, great performances, anyway. So that's why I got Inception at number 4. Number 3 is another movie that's kind of the last movie of its franchise. One of my favorite franchises, best animated franchise I think of all time. And that is Toy Story 4. Inception came out in 2010, so it just barely made the 2010s. Toy Story 4 came out in 2019, so it's a pretty recent movie. I love Toy Story franchise. Of course, I saw the first one in theater in 1995 when I was maybe 12 years old. It was totally game-changing movie. Never seen a movie with 3D graphics before. That was all new. And of course, not only was the animation kind of groundbreaking, also a great story, very funny, great characters. And they were able to make, now 4 movies. I think this will be the last one. And because the characters are so great and the story writing is so great, they've been able to make this. We haven't had an anime movie with these many movies, and they're all good. That's so hard to do, to make so many sequels and them to be this good. Of course, I think Toy Story 2 was great. Toy Story 3 was okay. A lot of people love Toy Story 3. Toy Story 3 is usually their favorite. And this is going to be my hot take on this, and people are always surprised when I say this, but Toy Story 4 is my favorite Toy Story, and I like them all. And and I'm another one I'm kind of surprised with. I didn't even see this in theater when it came out, because Toy Story 3 came out. I love Toy Story, Toy Story 2, saw that in theater. Toy Story 3 came out, which I didn't think there was going to be any more Toy Stories. I thought Toy Story 2 was it. And then, so it was such a, wonderful thing when Toy Story 3 came out, and you're like, oh my gosh, they made another one. So excited. Went and saw it. I thought Toy Story 3 was a little rehash of Toy Story 2. I didn't think it was that great. It was okay. It's decent. Like, I still have the Blu-ray, still watch it. I don't like it as much as other people do. I mean, still fine movie. So because of that disappointment a little bit of Toy Story 3, when Toy Story 4 came out, I was so shocked that I thought Toy Story 3 was it. Just a trilogy. Why do you need another movie? So when they made a 4th movie, I thought, oh no, like, they can't, there's no way you can make 4 good movies out of this franchise. It's just so hard to do. And so I kind of had my mindset that it's probably not going to be very good. They probably overstretched themselves, making too many movies. And I thought Toy Story 3 was disappointing, so I was afraid Toy Story 4 would be disappointing. So went and saw it in the theater. So I didn't go see it in the theater. I saw it when at my parents' house, and my sister said, oh, have you seen it? I said no, and they said, let's watch it. Watched it and absolutely loved it. I was so, like, I couldn't believe how good it was. Part of it is there's a great emotional story of, like, Woody and Buzz. Have had this great relationship, kind of friendship, came together in the first one, and then you see where it goes in this one. It's very emotional to me. There's kind of a goodbye scene that got me in tears, basically, because I so emotionally involved in these characters. I thought it was very funny. I love the new characters. Forky is quickly becoming one of my favorite characters. Wonderfully done. I know Key and Peele do these 2 characters, like Ducky and something. They're very funny. Kick Kaboom, voiced by Keanu Reeves, very funny character, great character. I love all these new characters, plus all the old characters I love. So I thought they did such a good job of that. And I love the story, arc of the kind of the antagonist, this doll, who's supposed to be the kind of bad guy and trying to kidnap Woody, basically. But then that character actually becomes not a bad guy, but you actually become kind of emotionally empathetic to the I forget what it's called, the something doll, and there's just kind of emotional scene with that character, which I was like, wow, I never thought they'd flip it and make me feel that way for the bad guy and actually want the bad guy to succeed in a sense. So I thought that was just great writing, of course. And Toy Story has always been great about writing. They always said it's about the script. Get a good script is the most important thing. I think they've done such a good job all the way through. Anyway, so that's why I got Toy Story 4, which came out 2019. That's number 3 on my list. So now we get to number 2. You should know I'm a huge fan of musicals. I love all the great musicals. And so my number 2 is one of the best musicals I've ever seen. And it is called Les Miserables, or Les Miserables, or Les Mis. This one came out in 2012, which I can't believe was that long ago. And when I saw it in the theater, I remember, and Hugh Jackman, Anne Hathaway, Russell Crowe, Amanda Seyfried, Eddie Redmayne. Yeah, great cast. I knew about Les Miserables. I've seen the 90s version with Liam Neeson and Jeffrey Rush playing Jean Valjean and Javert. And that's the first time I saw that. I knew this was a famous story, famous book. But I remember watching that in the 90s, actually at school, I believe. And I loved the idea of the main character, Jean Valjean, being this criminal and after he gets released from prison, he's going and doing criminal things because he can't find a job, and he's needs to steal and all this stuff, and he kind of hates the system because of it. And he comes across a priest who he tries to steal from, or he does steal from, and instead of the priest handing him to the cops, the priest instead gives him the stuff that he stole and says, doesn't turn him in, says, you can keep this stuff, sell it for money, make a life for yourself. And the fact that John Valjean is so like, why would this person do something nice for me when I was so mean to him? And it kind of confuses him. And, this mercy shown on him, he just doesn't understand it. And then, but it changes him, and he decides to take that and basically become a Christian, become a forgiving person, becoming a good person. And he sells the money, becomes rich, but uses his money for good and helps people. He helps run this town basically, and does a good job. So I love the idea of redemption. This character gets redeemed when he didn't deserve it. It reminds me a lot of, as a Christian, as Jesus Christ died for my sins, even though I didn't deserve it, and I'm saved because of that, because of what his sacrifice is. So I love that idea. There's a great religious, story here, kind of, idea here that I love about, forgiveness, redemption, giving second chances. Anyway, so just say I love that story idea. First off, now you add a musical, which I knew there was a musical. I never really listened to the music, didn't know any of the music when I first saw this in theater. And of course, it's famous for a reason. The music is awesome, really great. And I think they did such a great job with the music here. You got Dream a Dream, it's kind of famous song there. I think there's John Valjean's soliloquy. You got the big number, and I'm forgetting. You got Eddie Redmayne sings the Empty Chair. Oh, you got the Sing a Song of, now I can't remember the songs now, but the songs are just amazing. Do you hear the people sing a song of angry men? That's a great song. One Day More, that's the one I was thinking. One Day More, where you get the whole cast singing together, just amazing vocals and harmonies and different themes going on at the same time, just really incredible. I love how the director here, let's see, what's his name? Tom Hooper. I thought did such a wonderful job directing this. Tom Hooper, he won an Oscar for The King's Speech, and also did a great miniseries called John Adams on HBO, which was a really great miniseries that he directed. I think wonderfully directed here by him. And he made this decision to record the people on the stage. Instead of recording in the studio, he recorded them, and he had like a piano there on the stage playing the parts as they're singing to the music, and just recorded their actual singing voice. So it's not necessarily perfect. It's a little ugly. There's crying as they're singing, anyways. And so it's a different way of approaching the musical, but I actually kind of enjoyed it. A lot of people criticize it because of it, but I actually enjoyed that. It's not all the notes are perfect, but you get the emotions of the character as they're maybe crying or they're showing anger while they're singing. You really get more of the performance that way, and I love that. Also, there's a lot of close-ups, which was criticized, but I think the close-ups are great because it really shows the actor really acting when you just have the camera right close-up on them, including probably the best scene in the movie, famous scene, Anne Hathaway singing I Dream a Dream. And basically the whole scene is just a close-up of her face as she sings the song, and you see every single emotion that she's going through. And the way she sings that song is way different than anybody else who sang it that I've heard on Broadway or in London. That she, really gets angry at certain scenes, and of course she's crying because it's a really sad scene, sad song about, her life. Anyways, and Anne Hathaway gives such a great performance, so deserving of an Oscar that she won. I think one of the best performances I've ever seen. When I first saw it, I was so blown away, so emotional. In fact, I even love listening to it on Spotify, just that song, because you can remember that scene and get the emotions out of it. Hugh Jackman also gave the best performance of his life. I always liked Hugh Jackman from X-Men, but I never knew that he was this good of an actor. So I was really kind of like, wow, this is one of the best actors I think out there. And he's an actor that I always love seeing now when I see him in a movie, because I know he's such a great actor. He can give such a great performance. Anyways, so that's a lot to say, but I do love Les Miserables, which came out um, 2012. And this is number 2, my second favorite movie of the 2010s. So now I come to my favorite movie of the last decade. If you know me, you probably guessed what the movie is. I probably talked about this movie before, I think, on the channel. It's a recent movie, and again, it's the last movie in a franchise, basically. And that is Avengers Endgame, which came out 2019. Same year as Toy Story 4. I think Little Women came out that year. So I got 3 in my. I thought those are 3 such good movies out of that year. That's 2019. Had some of my favorite movies that I've seen in a long time. And now, of course, Avengers Endgame. It's like, what can you say about it? So much to say, but I guess I just to say that it's such an amazing job and ambitious idea to something we've never seen before in my life, and I'll never see happen again. It seems like is that you can get all these characters, make individual movies out of them, then bring them together in one universe. Like, we never heard of cinematic universe before until the Iron Man came out, and then the next one, and we kind of came with this idea when we came to the first Avengers movie, this shared universe, never been done before. Just an amazing idea, and the fact that they pulled it off is such an incredible thing. And the fact that we get all the way to now, Avengers Endgame is like, I mean, like the 20th movie or something in 12 years of movies. I mean, so many movies have been made in this franchise, and all comes down to this movie, Endgame, where it's kind of the last one, even though I know they're making more Marvel movies, of course, because it makes money. They're always going to make it if it makes money. Of course, we had a Spider-Man movie after this, and a Black Widow movie's coming out, and I know I just saw a trailer for Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, so that's going to come out later this year. And then we got the TV series, WandaVision, Winter Soldier, Falcon and Winter Soldier. So the franchise is going to go on for a while. But this definitely is the last kind of this era, because it's the last storyline of Tony Stark / Iron Man. It's also the last movie with Captain America, Steve Rogers. So those are to me, the two most important, 2 biggest superheroes in this franchise. So we get to see their story arcs end here. Plus, you get to end the Thanos and the Infinity Stone storylines, which was kind of the driving storyline in these movies, these first 4 Avenger movies, I guess, franchises, MCU. And so I'd love, like I said, the end of a franchise, ending where you finally defeat the bad guy. And this did such a great job. The way they bring back all the characters from the previous movies, amazing, mind-blowing, emotional. I mean, I couldn't believe it when I saw it in theater. It was just so, like, I couldn't hide back the tears coming down my face, watching all these characters come back. Such a brilliant idea of how they did that. And like I said, this movie got me emotional. I cried probably at least 3 times when I saw this movie in the movie theater. I've seen it a couple times since, and I still cry when I watch it. And I've never cried while watching a superhero movie. It seems like there's no reason. It should be a fun, adventurous movie. There shouldn't be crying. But the fact that this movie got me so emotionally involved in the characters, and made me so emotional at times and got me crying, I think is a testament that it's not just a great action movie, superhero movie, but just a really great dramatic movie too. And I think it's just an amazing thing that they've done with this franchise and be able to do so much in this movie. To me, it should be Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor for Robert Downey Jr. Gave such a great performance. It should be Best Actor. I hate that they don't do that in the Oscars, because they don't usually like fantasy movies, superhero movies. Seems beneath them, but this is such beyond anything I've seen as far as superhero movies go. It's totally changed the game of superhero movies, the whole Marvel cinematic universe. I mean, to make not the movies just fun and great action, great visual effects, but also just creating these great characters and that you love, of course, and it's very funny. So you get all the emotions, funny, sad, excitement. Did such a great job with the whole series, and this is such a great ending to the series, I think. The last battle scene is one of the greatest battle scenes I've ever seen in a movie. I mean, it's just so awestrucking to see all the superheroes fighting the bad guys and fighting Thanos, and the way they end that is so great. I had such high expectations for the movie, and it went beyond my expectations. I couldn't even imagine how good it was going to be. It did everything in better than I could think of. Anyway, so that's why I can go on and talk about how much I love this movie. My number one movie of the 2010s, Avengers Endgame, came out 2019. So thank you for watching this series of videos of my favorite 20 movies. I like to go on and do some more decade movies. I enjoy coming up with these lists, and I appreciate you watching this video and supporting me and subscribing and liking, and appreciate everything. Take care.